Dubai is set to host the Middle East's first ever dedicated extreme sports exhibition in October. It's the Spearo Extreme Sports Expo, so it's all things adventure and extreme sporting activities. Zarir Saifuddin is the editor-in-chief of Spearo Freediving and Spearfishing magazine. He's the main organiser of the event. He's currently in the car park at Skydive Dubai in between meetings to talk to us. Zarir, nice to have you on the line.
Happy to be on the line, Tim.
So, first of all, tell me about the event. Tell me about what you're going to be putting on in October, Zarir.
As you mentioned, Tim, it's Dubai's first Extreme Sports Expo. Basically, we'll be having under one roof extreme sports exhibitors of land, air, and sea. We'll also be having, apart from the exhibitors themselves, we'll be having for visitors dedicated exhibition space for seminars and workshops. And, raffles, prizes to be won. And, to top everything off, we'll also be having some visitor experiences. So, visitors can actually participate in some action during the 3-day event.
And that's what I guess is going to be interesting to lots of people, the action itself, because extreme sports is a sector that has really started to take off, particularly here in Dubai, but in the Emirates, across the region. We've had Skydive Dubai becoming a really successful brand in a very short space of time. There's so much interest.
Definitely, yes. I mean, if you think about it, Tim, 10 years ago, Dubai has always been into sports. There have been a lot of sporting events from as far as I can remember. We have the Dubai Tennis Open, the golf tournaments, the rally tournaments. We've had a lot of sporting events, since as early back as the 90s. But, in the past 10 years, extreme sports has really taken up. So, if you look back to the early 2000s, we didn't have a Skydive Dubai. We didn't have, a kite surfing beach. We didn't have as many scuba diving clubs, as many people, free diving. Spearfishing wasn't as popular as it is now. All of those things have really taken up, have really picked up in the past few years. So yes, extreme sports is definitely big in UAE at the moment.
And I guess really, if you look back at the traditions and the heritage of the Emirates, in lots of ways there are parallels. It's not a big surprise because the conditions here are so extreme. It used to be such a tough place to live. If you think back to the days of the pearl divers, that is an extremely extreme profession rather than sport.
Yeah, I'd say, I wouldn't even say, I'd take it to the next level, Tim. I'd say it was an extreme way of life, in such a harsh condition. And especially you mentioned the pearl divers. Those guys, some of those ships were gone for 3 months. For months on end on pearl diving expeditions. So yeah, definitely there's definitely parallels, and it doesn't come as a surprise. Shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that extreme sports is so popular in Dubai and the UAE.
How do you define extreme sports? Because it's something that I always think if you're doing something that's generically an exercise, but it's got an element of danger, is that a reasonable definition?
I'd say it is a reasonable definition, Tim. To be perfectly honest with you, I think it's a bit, defining extreme sport might be, the definitions might be subjective. It might differ from depending who you ask. If you were to ask me, yes, I'd say that what differentiates a sport from an extreme sport is the level of exertion and maybe even the level of risk. So, there's risk. Every sport comes with its risk. Even table tennis, I'm sure, has a certain amount of risk. But when we're talking about extreme sports, the level of effort you need to exert would be much more, and possibly even the level of risk as well.
Okay, so risk is certainly a factor, and I guess that's something you have to take into account, doesn't it, with an expo like this? There are an awful large number of safety aspects to something like skydiving, for example, or freediving.
Correct.
Is that something you're going to be looking at the expo?
As I mentioned earlier, we have a dedicated exhibition space, 2 seminars and workshops, where different, exhibitors will be, talking about, giving crash courses or, extreme sports 101 classes, basically, to not only increase interest in different extreme sports, but also to educate visitors about things like safety.
Tell me about the One Breath exhibition.
The One Breath exhibition is a very exciting part of the expo. But before I come to the One Breath, let me tell you about some of the other pavilions. So we have 3 pavilions. We have the Extreme Land Pavilion, the Extreme Air Pavilion, and the Extreme Sea Pavilion. So the One Breath exhibition is part of the Extreme Sea Pavilion, and it's an exhibition dedicated to freediving and spearfishing. So it's an exhibition within the expo.
Finally, Zarir, where's it going to be held? How do people get involved? What's the website? All of the details. What can you tell us?
It's going to be held at Skydive Dubai Palm Island Drop Zone. The website is www.thespearoexpo.com. And how can people get involved? People can get involved, they can follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, to follow all of the latest updates and show up at the event.
And we're still a few months away, so more announcements about what's going to come and more additions, I suppose, nearer the time.
Definitely. You'll have to, we have some surprises coming up, so you'll definitely have to invite me back on the show to hear more about them.
Consider yourself invited. Zarir Saifuddin is the editor-in-chief of Spearo Freediving and Spearfishing magazine, organising the Spearo Extreme Sports Expo in October here in Dubai. Great to talk to you, Zarir. Thanks for joining us.
Nice speaking to you.